Byrna Nation, Sean here, Less Lethal for Dummies. Again, it's been a while, but I've been waiting for parts for my Byrna SD to put it all back together and try some modifications to see if I can realize any more potential from it in its factory form. I guess as most of you know by now, the SD LE and the SD XL actually come with, I'm guessing it's probably about a 3/4 inch longer barrel, and I suspect that is probably the main culprit for the increase in FPS. I personally don't believe that they changed much of the internal workings, but until you guys somebody either takes one apart or I get my hands on one, I can only assume. So before we put it back together, I'm just gonna do one separate video on the air chamber that is found in the Byrna SD. Most of you have never seen the inside of the SD. Maybe aside from popping the top off and kind of getting your Mercy Less Lethal 12-gram adapter in there. So here it is. This is the air chamber. It is unconventional in a sense that it doesn't have a bolt. I'll explain it better when I have the marker in front where I kind of put it back together, but the barrel slides in a Byrna, and that's what makes the seal over the chamber, and then the air puffs out. So this is what, I mean, I'm gonna do my best to explain it how, with the experience that I have and the knowledge that I have, and please correct me if I'm wrong. This is what I would consider a poppet valve. So the way this functions is normally there is a tube in this hole here, and it charges your cylinder, your air chamber. And the hammer is cocked here, and when you pull the trigger, the hammer actually depresses this little pin valve here, which I'll refer to as the poppet valve, in turn releasing air out the barrel through that small little hole there. And we'll get to that once we open this guy up. So there's really no moving, but there's nothing physically striking the ball, which if you're launching chemical rounds, you don't want anything physically striking the ball. Obviously that increases the chances of it breaking in the barrel. Yeah, so air in, charges your chamber, hammer hits the pin, releases air out the front. So I used, you can see there on the back, it's got 4 little kind of dots in the back. I used my snap ring pliers, and I've already loosened this, obviously, and cleaned it. So I just insert them like that and begin to unscrew my cap. Inside, this is what you'll find. So I'm gonna take it out like this. There's your chamber. And in the side here, it might be hard to detect where this tube is actually where the air comes in. There's a tiny little hole in there. But this is what you find inside. This brass bit here, bushing, however you want to call it, it makes a seal against an O-ring that is found inside there. That's the return spring for your poppet valve. And this disc that's in here, we'll just pull the pin out. This disc that's in here, I believe, is probably just to kind of break up the liquid CO2 and allow more of an even flow. of CO2 into your valve pin. So you see this, it's got these two little notches on the side. So this pin is actually hollow. So now picture in its ready position, your chamber here is charged with air. Hopefully I might have to get, oh man, I hope that was on camera. So you can see how it fits in against this back sealing washer. So when you actually, the hammer hits, see how the holes open up there? Then all the air from your chamber rushes into those either side and travels out the end. In turn, making its way out the barrel. So, poppet valves function in a way that generally lightening the spring or decreasing spring pressure allows more time for this pin. So when the hammer strikes it, it stays open longer because it's easier. So that's the first thing I'm gonna do. And I've already got the spring here. So this is the factory spring here. This is my shorter, lighter spring. Now you can see, pretty easy there, huh? This one, I can crush it, but it's a lot tougher. And it actually doesn't compress as small. So that's easy, right? Drop it on there. I think I'm just gonna leave this out. It may increase the volume slightly, but honestly, the limiting factor here is those holes. Only so much CO2 can go in and go out. So this whole process may be all for naught. But I'm gonna try anyways. Now, this was greased from the factory. There's grease all down in here on that sealing O-ring there. There's grease on the pin. There's grease on this other sealing O-ring here. If you're ever gonna do this, I would probably recommend doing it in grease again. But I use my markers quite a lot, and I'm just gonna use my Tech T gun drops. This is pretty thick stuff. So it sticks well. It's not like that watery type silicone oil. I don't know if you can see it there. It's kind of goopy. And we'll just put it back together here. And it's quite simple, as you can see. So what I'm gonna do is drop a little oil down on this O-ring that's inside here. Not being too shy about it. It just shoots everything out the end anyways. I'm also going to put some on this little donut here. And I'm gonna grease my shaft or oil my shaft. I'm just gonna rub it all over this bad boy. Then what I'm gonna do is whatever some of the excess oil, I'm just gonna put on the spring. Put the lightened spring on the pin. My brass bushing, I guess we're just gonna call it. So the recessed side goes over the spring like that. And what I should have done was actually put my valve cap back on here like that. Oop. So hopefully you guys can see that. That is the assembly there, pre-assembly. And just stick it back in. Being mindful to try and get this brass sort of centered in that center donut there. You can kind of look through the end here. You're doing it. I actually should have put a little lube on this O-ring here. I can still manage with what's left on my fingers. So there's a sealing O-ring on the back of this cap here, guys. So yeah, you should put a little bit of lubrication on there. So I'm just gonna snug it down by hand. And what you wanna do is just confirm. You can see that pin is sliding in there, that it's centered. So you know it's all good. Take my snap ring pliers and I'm gonna send it home. If you guys are doing this, some very fine threads going on in these things, so just be careful you don't cross thread. Okay, don't have to cram that thing down there. Cap is set. And we are good to reinstall this. A couple of notes while I got it out here. Right here is a ball detent. One of two, I believe. There is another one. Well, there's another one here. Kind of see it flopping around. That I think interacts with the indicator ramp there. But again, we'll know more when we put this thing back together. So I've been studying the kind of the internal workings of this thing for some time while I was waiting for some springs and such to come in. And what I've come to realize, because there's no bolt, the hammer on the back has its own spring, and there's a spring on the bottom here that you may have noticed in some of the drawings or the animations that are out there. I believe this is a return spring for the trigger. So they're two separate entities because this is a boltless design. So this actually resets your hammer into the ready to fire position. And the hammer is on a, what the hell do you call those springs? Almost like a coil, not a coil spring, damn it. It's on the tip of my tongue. Well, I'll show it to you guys once we put this whole marker back together. Well, that's about it. It's just a kind of quick and dirty video. And we'll know more when it's back together.